Welcome to Steam Talks by Steam Vision. This is Akshita Sharma, your host for today. We all love traveling. Well, at least most of us do. So, today, let's begin our journey with an inspiring person who shortened distance from being ordinary to extraordinary, starting his journey from a government school and going on to achieve a global recognition. An individual who not only dreams but endeavors to make them true. So let's meet the person himself, Dr. Ujjwal Rathore. I would like to invite you, sir, for Deep Prajwalan, followed by Saraswati Vandana.
कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाड्यापहा शुक्लं ब्रह्मविचारसारपरमा आद्यं जगद्व्यापिनीं वीणापुस्तकधारिणीम् अभयदां जाड्यान्धकारापहां हस्ते स्फटिकमालिकं विदधतीं पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्.
As quoted by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, dream is not what you see in sleep. Dream is something which does not let you sleep. Ujjwalji, I would like to let you see your journey from our eyes, and I'm sure this will take you down the memory lane. I hope you will enjoy it.
Wow, this was really great. It made me both nostalgic and emotional. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, sir. So, we all just saw a lot happening in his life, which we will unravel today. So, let's know him like never before, Dr. Ujjwal Rathore. So, first of all, Ujjwal ji, we would like to congratulate you on receiving the fellowship.
Thank you so
So,
much.
I'm just curious to know what is this fellowship about? Like, who all can be at the receiving end of this, and what is it about?
So this fellowship is called Mathilde Krim Fellowship. It's named after a really great female scientist. She was the person who, with famous actress Elizabeth Taylor, started the American Foundation of AIDS Research. So in 1980s, when AIDS was spreading everywhere and a lot of people were dying because of it, there was not sufficient money to do a research on AIDS. Not many people were interested in, not many governments were interested in giving money for AIDS research. And she was a scientist who was working on a lot of cool things. And she realized that this is a pandemic, just like COVID pandemic is going on right now. In 1980s, it was the AIDS pandemic going on. So
Okay.
she took this on herself. She was like she was a real inspiration. She decided that she is going to arrange money for AIDS research. And so she started this foundation, and this fellowship is on her name. And the fellowship is given to those postdoctoral young scientists who the committee thinks can make a lot of difference in HIV research and can help find a cure for AIDS pandemic. This AIDS pandemic is going on for last 40 years. Every year, 2 million people get infected, and
Hmm.
40 million people are infected with it. So they just try to figure out who are the young people who can make a difference to this AIDS pandemic and can help end it. And they give this fellowship to help support their research for next 2 years.
Okay. So, how was it when first time you got to know that you're receiving this? So, like, were you okay? Like, okay, you knew it, or it was like something out of the blue that stuck you? Like, okay, I'm receiving it. So, how was it?
Yeah, so it's basically there were two stages for this fellowship. First, you write a letter of intent in which you just tell that this is the research which I want to do if I get this fellowship, and you just tell it in very short, and then you tell about your life, your inspiration, why you wanted to work on HIV, and all those sort of things. But if your letter of intent is selected, then they ask you to write a detailed research proposal, that exactly how you want to do research, how you want to contribute towards HIV research, AIDS research. So when my letter of intent was selected and I submitted the full application, I wasn't really sure that I'm going to get it, because only one or two people get this fellowship every year. So it's highly competitive. And then sometimes you think that, oh, I just, moved from India to United States. And, there are people who did their a PhD in, top institutions within United States. So, they might be more competitive than me. But then you just need to be confident in yourself, and you need to just give it a go. So I was hopeful, but I wasn't sure that I'm going to get it.
But again, you made it. So, once again,
Good.
congratulations. So,
Thanks.
sir, like, who of all the other Nobel laureates in your field would you like, meet? Would you want to meet someday? Like, if you have that, someone maybe in your
So
field.
actually, in my
Or
field,
any field, maybe. Like if
not just Nobel laureates, there are a lot of good scientists around whom I would like to meet. And I think one scientist whom I really would like to meet is Venki Ramakrishnan. He is a Nobel laureate, and he basically, he's from Indian origin, and he figured out how, so there is in our body, there is a machinery which makes proteins. So how that machinery works, and his work is very fundamental in figuring out new antibiotics, discovering new antibiotics. So like that in everywhere in the world, these new bacterial infections are emerging which cannot be treated with any drugs. So his work paves way for discovering new antibiotics. So that's from the people who are alive. But there are a lot of Nobel laureates who I would have loved to meet, but they are not here anymore. Like I would have loved to meet Richard Feynman, who was a famous physicist. And I would suggest all students to read Richard Feynman's books and listen to his lectures on physics. but he's not here anymore. But we can always listen to him speaking and listen to his lectures. More than meeting, sometimes Nobel laureates, I like to read about their work. That's something, because their work is there, and that's where you can really learn from.
Well, that physics suits my interest, so I'll definitely try and read that one. So, Ujjwalji, let me take you back in time and when you were a kid. So, how was your childhood like? Like, you played a lot of pranks in your childhood, or were you the one on whose pranks are being like were being played? So, how was your childhood?
I'm sure my sisters will disagree with me, but I think I used to play pranks on them, and I was a naughty kid for sure. Uh, uh, but like naughty in a way that just not not listening to what others are saying, and doing what I wanted to do.
Okay. So, if we ask you like, if you compare your school life and college, what would you say was which one was more thrilling for you? Because I guess we compare always like school aisa tha, college aisa tha. So, how is it for you?
Oh, I think the turning point in my life was the first turning point in my life was when I got admission into Pratibha Vikas Vidyalaya Surjmal Vihar in grade ninth. Uh, Before that, I used to study in a school in which there were not many resources. We used to, so when it used to rain, we didn't we there were not proper classrooms, so our desks used to get filled with water, and we used to take shelter, and then when rain used to stop, we used to invert the desks and clean them, and then our classes used to start. But when I got admission into this school in grade ninth in Pratibha Vikas Vidyalaya, I got really amazing teachers, a very resourceful environment. I think the best period of my academic career was from ninth to 12th, and that was in Pratibha Vikas Vidyalaya.
Okay. So, since I also belong to Delhi University, so what was the most exciting thing you used to do when you were at Delhi University? Or like, were you like a science nerd who used to sit in college and study?
Yeah, so I would say that I was a very boring person during college. I used to play a lot during school, but during college, I all I did was I studies. So I was pretty boring during
So you
college.
were like a science nerd, basically.
Yeah, except going out to eat golgappes. Apart from that, I didn't do much in college apart from studying.
So like that Golgappe point was your go-to place. Like in North Campus, we have Sudama ki chai and something like
Yeah,
Golma ki momos. So
yeah,
you have a chai kadda, right? Okay,
yeah,
that's nice because like especially during this pandemic, we students are really missing out the fun part in college. We're
yeah. I
constantly
know.
studying, so maybe your words can rejuvenate even your friends of that time.
Yeah.
So, what was it since childhood you wanted to be a scientist, or you did what the family decided? How was it?
So when I was a kid, I actually wanted to become a medical doctor. Because I wanted to find. So I always wanted to find, a cure for cancer, a treatment for HIV, and I used to think that doctors do that, medical doctors do that, and I had no idea. Like I had no idea who scientists, are, or what they do. So I used to think that I want to, but then slowly it became clear to me that if I really want to, find a cure for cancer, and or for AIDS, then I need to be a scientist, and I need to do PhD. So during my bachelor's, I did a 2 months summer training in at AIMS in a research lab,
Okay.
and that's when I
Mhm.
decided that this is what I want to do for my career.
Okay, so you had a role model there who inspired you, or was it some person you looked up to? Did you have that?
So yeah, so I got role models, but later in life, like when I was at IISc. But so if for science, I think the motivation was not like, it was not that I looked at someone and decided, okay, I this is a scientist and I want to be like him. For science, the motivation was mostly that I wanted to. That's the reason I wanted to be a doctor. Also, that the reason was that I wanted to help people. I wanted to find solutions to those problems which are unsolved, and the reason I decided to become scientist is because once I asked in my school, my biology teacher, that in all human cells we have all the chromosomes, and we have all the genes. So why can't we take some skin cells out and we fuse them and we make a whole human being again? Why do we need eggs and sperms to make a whole human being? And the teacher was like, he didn't have an answer, and he was like, okay, this is a good question, but I don't know what the answer is. So maybe you have to find answers for this. So I was curious, and I wanted to find answers for difficult questions.
So you
That's what
found
motivated.
answer for this one,
Yeah,
which you
I
just.
found answer for it.
So
Yeah.
what's the answer for this? Now I'm curious to know.
so you so so you know that we have genes in our body which code for instruction for all the work which is done in our body. And so genes are basically the code, like the programming code in a computer system. But then these genes basically code for proteins, and those proteins actually do work. So they are the action molecules of the cells. Proteins are action molecules, and DNA is the code. So in different cells, some genes can function and some genes don't function. So that's the thing, that you might have, it's like you might have four friends, but one out of those four friends, one friend might just work when he's relaxed, and then other friend might work only when it's that friend is stressed. Similarly, in us body cells also, in different cells, some genes work and some genes don't work. So that's what makes each cell different. So the genetic composition is same, but some things can work in one cell type and some things cannot. But the thing is, you can actually take any cell type and change it
Okay.
into any other cell type. So the building in which I am sitting right now, it was discovered in this building itself that how you can take, for example, a skin cell and convert it into a liver cell.
Oh, okay, that's nice. These amazing things keep happening around you, I guess. So,
And science is amazing.
yeah, actually. So, what do you enjoy the most apart from doing research and all these scientific things? What do you do?
I really enjoy running, and I am in a beautiful city right now in San Francisco. So I enjoy exploring the city while running. So seeing the city while running, and I enjoy playing table tennis. I enjoy listening to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks. I'm really into podcasts and audiobooks.
Okay, so you watch movies or something? Do you have?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. Sometimes I do, but not very often.
Okay, okay. So, usually, whenever in life you felt low or like when things don't go as planned, what you used to think or do mostly?
Um, y- uh, I think I'm an optimist by nature. To be you have to be an optimist to be a scientist, because in science, what you do is research, and what is in research, you try to find out new things. You want try to do some things which no one has done before, right? And so when you try to do something new, mostly what you face is failures. Science is like 99% failures. So you do experiments for 3 years, and that experiment can just become a total failure at the end of 3 years. So your 3 years can go down the drain in terms of the result which you are looking for, but you learn in that process. So I think if you want to maintain your positivity, or you when you're feeling low, it's important to understand that whatever we are doing, it's about journey. It's not like one end goal we're trying to reach, right? Even if you're trying to find a cure for HIV/AIDS, and you suppose don't find it in your 5 years of research, but you learn a lot about that virus. You learn how to tomorrow COVID might come, and the things which you have learned with HIV virus, you can take those things to COVID and tackle a new pandemic. So I think when I feel low, I remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it in pursuit of knowledge, and sometimes those short-term end goals, they don't matter that much. It's important to keep continuing your journey.
Right. So you used to have your go-to person, like you can, we have maybe a friend or a mentor who used to who you used to go to. So was it? Do you had someone?
Yeah, and especially the person who I really admire and who was and is my go-to person, it was my PhD guide, Professor Raghavan Vardarajan. He is an amazing personality. He has got like all possible big awards for science in India, but his integrity for research. And so whenever I used to feel that something is not working, or I am stuck somewhere, I used to go to him, and he always had very good suggestions. For example, once I made a big mistake in an experiment, and it was not intentional. It was because I was new, I was learning things, and I didn't know that I should look for that particular thing. And so I made a big mistake in that experiment, and so we lost 3 months of work because of that. And that I was new in that lab, just started my PhD. I was nervous. Now I'll go to my professor, I'll tell him that I made this mistake, and because of which we lost 3 months and so much money, so many resources. And I was thinking he will tell me that just leave my lab and go and do PhD somewhere else. But when I went to him, he told me that, Ujjwal, so what we can do is you can do this thing in a different way, and then basically you will be at the same place in a week. So you have not lost basically 3 months. You can be at the same place in a week. But then I told him that, sir, I'm really sorry that we use so many reagents, so much money was wasted, and I'll be more careful in the future. And he told me one thing. He said that, Ujjwal, that all we can do is we can be careful, but still mistakes are bound to happen. Don't worry too much about them. When you're going to try things, mistakes are going to happen. Don't stop trying things because mistakes are happening. Just figure out a way so that same mistake doesn't happen again. So he was my go-to person, and I learned a lot from him.
Wow, that's nice to hear. Actually, it's good to have a mentor like that. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how was it getting into IISc Bangalore? Was it difficult? Was it easy? How would you describe your journey, like from ANDC to IISc? So, how was it?
So it was very interesting. When I wanted to get into research, but
Right.
I had no idea about top institutions in India where you can do research when I was in second year of my college. And once we were asked this question in the class that, what do you want to do after your bachelor's? And one guy, my friend Navneet Vashishta in the class, he said that I want to either get into IISc or Tata Institute of Fundamental Research or National Center for Biological Sciences. And I was like, I haven't heard of any of these institutions. What are these institutions? Let me read about these institutions. So I started figuring out what these institutions are. And then I found out that these are the top research institutions in India for biology. And uh, but you will not believe it. I started preparing for, getting admission into these institutions during my third year of bachelor's. But I used to think that I'm not going to get into these institutions because all these institutions had two-tier exam. The first phase was a written exam, and then the second phase was an interview. And I wasn't confident about my English skills because I studied in a Hindi medium school, and my English was and is pretty bad. So I used to think, because these places have interviews, I'll not be selected in interviews. But I used to think, okay, I can crack IITs and AIIMS and these places because only written exam, and I was confident about my basics. But then what turned out was that I was actually able to crack these interviews and get into IISc. So this was a dream coming true because I got into a program which was called Integrated PhD Program, and IISc takes only 10 to 12 students every year throughout from all over India.
Oh, okay.
So just 10 people coming into the program every year. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to get into those 10 people, and I just wrote the exam, I gave my interview, and I was lucky.
So, I guess your life was full of a lot of surprises, I would say. Hard work, full of like you. I've obviously worked hard for them, but again, a surprise for you because I mean that's amazing. Wow, I am liking it.
Yeah, I think
So,
if you keep working hard and you might see failures, you might not get into the first institution you are looking for. But if you keep sharpening your skills, then eventually you will get to a place where you will enjoy it.
right. So it's a very personal question to me since I really aspire to go overseas someday for studies or maybe something, at least something. So how is the feeling when you like got to know that you're going overseas? Maybe you like US, you came here and leaving your family, stepping out of your comfort zone. Uh, just landing on a foreign land, seeing all the different places and different language. How was it for you?
It was a very mixed feeling, I would say. Initially, when I found out that I have got a position at UCSF, I was very excited. But then slowly the feeling that you are about to leave your country for some time, you are going to be even farther away from your family. That feeling sinks in, and It was a very mixed feeling. It was a good opportunity. I knew that I'll be able to do the kind of research I want to do, but that then I knew that I'll be able to meet my family even less frequently, and it was a tough thing. But what I would say is that m- moving one place to another has its cost, but it also teaches you a lot, and it gives you a lot of experience, new experiences. And what if I think about what life is, I think life is all about your experiences, the story which you make through your experiences. And when you move to new places, you'll see a lot of new things, and you learn, you make really great experiences. When I came to US, it was initially tough to adjust into the life here, but then you with time you learn to fight, and you learn to adjust. uh, Simple things. For example, I'll tell you that so many things change when you move to a new country. Um like for example, in India we use a metric system. We talk in terms of
Right,
kilometers,
right.
in terms, kgs and scientific notations, right? But suddenly you are to a place where everyone is saying, oh, the temperature is this many degrees Fahrenheit, and you are like, what does that mean?
Right.
Right? So small things, but slowly you learn all those things, and then you know things, how things happen in your own country, and then you also know how things happen in the country which accepted you.
Yeah, we just adapt, maybe. Yeah. So, how difficult was it to make friends?
uh,
Who was your first friend in US? Like you came, and who was the person maybe who comforted you here? So, how was it?
yeah, so first friends, so there are two aspects of it. The first person whom I met in my lab, his name is Joe Hyatt. He's an MD PhD student, and he is like incredibly talented. So he was the person whom I met first in the United States, and he was the person who actually introduced me to all the concepts of to US culture. And because the way you talk also changes from country to country. For example,
Right.
when I was growing up in India, especially studying in a Hindi medium school, no one used to ask how do you do. But here it's like, it's people ask how do you do, and you don't answer good, or you answer something completely different. So it's called small talk. So small talk differs between India. The way in India we'll be just say, hey, hi, how are you?
Right.
So if they're asking how are you doing here, it can mean very different things. So he was the person whom I used to ask, I don't understand what you are saying. I don't understand a word of what you are saying. Can you explain it? So you have to keep asking questions, and then things become clear and clear.
Okay, that's nice. So, do you still wonder where you started from and how far you've come, and think what next to achieve?
I do because I think it's I, I I was extremely lucky and both privileged that I could reach here, because it's not easy. To coming from a resource limited setting, and I was lucky that my parents were really focused on education, and they had spent a lot of time, money and resources on educating their children. uh, so I think it's there is a lot of luck factor also in there, and I think it's not everyone is as lucky that they get the right environment at their home, or the right guidance at the right time. And there was no internet when I was in the
Yeah.
school, right? So it wasn't that you can just Google and figure out this is or internet was there, but it wasn't as useful as it is now. So email was just starting, and I think I think I feel very lucky to be here.
Okay, so do you stay with your parents, or they are in back here,
so my
like in India?
so my parents are in India. They stay in Delhi.
Okay, okay. So, do you wish you wish to call them and spend some time with them? So, how is it? Do you feel like that?
Yeah. So we so the thing about when you move to a new country is you experience things, right? But you want to experience those things with your family and friends,
Like,
and until you do that, your experience is not complete. You go to a place and you feel like, oh, if my sister would have been here, then
right.
we would have enjoyed it in this way. So yes, my parents, they are certainly going to visit once they get their vaccination done, and once the COVID situation settles a little bit, and they're going to come and visit and stay with us here.
Okay. So, do you wish to come back to India someday?
Yeah, I do. I do. Because there are multiple reasons for that. One thing is I never thought that I'll be here in US, so I don't know where the life is going to take me, and I'm very flexible about where I live my life. But I grew up in an Indian system,
Right.
and this American system is still very foreign to me. And but the thing is that I was born in Delhi. I did my schooling in Delhi, but then I moved to Bangalore. So I was born in North India, moved to South India. I am married to a Maharashtrian, and then I am in United States, right? So with time, what happens is that you feel that you don't belong anywhere and you belong everywhere.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely, I this is the dream is to do something back at home in India.
Oh, so you do wish to come back. Well,
Yeah.
nice. I would love to meet you. So, coming to your life in UCSF, what is your research about, basically, from when you started and till now? Was it the same topic or is it different?
Yeah. So during my PhD, I was designing vaccines for HIV and other viral diseases. And so, what vaccine you put in a human's body, and then human's body does something, and so you're protected from a disease. But during my PhD, I got interested in finding out what does the how human body responds to a virus or to a vaccine. So I moved to a lab where they were doing a lot of genetic engineering. So during my PhD, I
Okay.
was doing protein engineering, which means that I take proteins and modify them, so see how their function change. So a protein which looks like this, and you suppose you change its shape to something like this, then how
Okay.
its function changes. Like initially it was suppose digesting a sugar in your body, but now it does something else, or it's not digesting sugar properly. So genetic engineering, what you do is you cut genes and you modify genes and you see what happens. So what I'm trying to do in here in my in my current lab is I can change thousands of genes. So we have like around 20,000 genes in our body, in human body. Like each cell has 20,000 genes, and genes are the codes, right? So what we try, this is genetic code of life. So what we try to do is we try to cut. So we have these molecular scissors, so they can
Okay.
cut a gene wherever we want. So I cut these genes, I remove those genes, and I do a virus infection, and I try to figure out which genes are important for that virus infection, because virus is very very small and we
Right.
are much bigger than a virus. But so virus is very smart. It's like a guy who comes to your home with just its clothes, right? No food, nothing else, no phone charger, nothing, and then uses your phone charger, uses your clothes, takes it, sleeps in your blanket. So virus is like that. So what we are I'm trying to figure out is that suppose if we take that blanket or that charger away, will that virus will go away? It will not infect us. So we are cutting these genes out and figuring out new drug targets for viral infections.
Okay. That's quite interesting, actually. I listening to it was at least. I'll not go into the study part.
Yeah. So if you look at this mask, so on one side of it is the HIV virus. Uh,
Okay.
this is the picture of it. This is basically an HIV virus. On the other side is basically genetic engineering. So we are showing how we cut a gene. So
Okay.
that mask actually explained my work, that we use genetic engineering to study viruses.
So you wear what you do. It's like that. Okay. Uh, how is how challenging it was doing your research during Corona period? Like, did you have access to laboratories at that time, and like how were you operating?
Oh, it was difficult. So I was in India actually when the pandemic started, and I came back to US on March 8th, and that was a time when all research for COVID was going on at very high pace. But all our lab on 13th of March 2020, all our laboratories were closed for non-COVID research because we didn't
Okay.
know, how infectious the virus is and how many people can work in the lab safely. So the labs were closed except for COVID research. And so all my HIV facilities, the biosafety level 3 facility where I work with HIV, those were closed. So then I decided, let's, this is a time for virologists to contribute to COVID. So then I started working on COVID, and then it was extremely fast paced and very collaborative. So normally when you do research, you work with a few colleagues around you, or you find out some people who are in the same city and
Right.
who are also interested in the same problem. You work with them. But when COVID problem started, we actually collaborated with scientists from 40 countries, And so scientists from 40 countries work together. We meeting on Zoom, planning. So one person is doing experiment in San Francisco and then sending samples to Germany and then to France, and then from there samples coming back here.
Right.
So COVID initially slowed down the research a little bit, but then it increased the pace of research by 10 times, I would say.
So you kept working, I would say.
Yeah, 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 and it was fun.
Okay. So, like as a researcher, can you put some light on the vaccination drive? How safe is it to take it? Like clearing all the myths.
Absolutely safe. So what I would say is, let's look at numbers. Okay, so if you look at like total number of COVID cases worldwide, right? So what is happening is 3 people out of 100 are dying. So 3% people who get COVID die. And if you look at this number in older people, so like 8%, 10% people, if they're older, like older than 60 years of age, so even more number of people die. So if you don't take vaccine and you get infected with this virus and get COVID-19, there is a 3% chance that you will die.
Right.
But if you take vaccine, then there are no deaths from vaccines so far. But even getting like some allergic reaction, the rate of that allergic reaction is 1 in 2.5 lakh people get allergic reactions. So you think about it. So it's like you are buying a new car, okay? And I'll tell you, this is one car. If you take it out on road 100 times, three
Right.
times you're going to have an accident and you
Right.
might die.
Right.
And I give you another car in which if you go take it out 2.5 lakhs times, then you might have a minor accident once where you might get a scratch. So you think
Mm.
about it. Vaccines, vaccine, everyone should go and vaccine if they can go and get vaccines if they get it. And both Covishield or Covaxin, whichever vaccine they're getting in India, they should just go and get it.
So, this advice you would give to children also, like maybe youngsters of my age, or should they also go for it?
So anyone under 18, they can't get vaccines right now because vaccines are not tested on people under 18. I guess they're going to be safe, but because this is just a guess, yeah, because they have not been tested in people under 18. Anyone
Right.
above 18 years of age should definitely go and get vaccine. It's very safe.
Okay.
I've got vaccine myself, by the way, so I've got
Okay.
both my doses. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's great. So Ujjwalji, if someone wants to pursue their career in research, so what students should keep in mind while choosing their PhD topics, and like what suggestions would you give them to be persistent and motivated? Because like while experimenting, as you said, don't always succeed. So, what suggestion would you like to give to them?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and a lot of scientists actually struggle with this question. A lot of PhD students struggle with this question from time to time, because you are bound to. It's very natural to get demotivated if you are not getting results. You are working really hard, and you are not, you're not making progress. It's human nature
Right.
to feel down. I think what is most important is to build an ecosystem, whether you are in research or whether you are just college, you are in a college student or schools, you are studying a good group of friends and mentors. So if you
Right.
have that, so building that ecosystem which is there to support you, that's the most important thing to, because see what is going to have, for example, in research, uh, your experiments might fail, right? But if you have a
Right.
good group of mentors available with to whom you can go and say that, see, I tried all these things and they've completely failed, I have no idea what to do next, and then you start brainstorming with them, right? Then ideas will
Right.
come. And then sometimes what happens is the failed experiments actually teach you so much or give you some information which you are not even looking for, right? So you
Right.
might be looking for another answer and then you find something else. So that can happen. So I think whether you are studying in school, you are in college, you are doing business, whatever it is, having a core group of people who are there to support you, making that group is very important. Science or if I generally ask this question, right? If I ask you, tell me a famous discovery and its discoverer, you will say, okay, this Einstein did this theory of
Right.
relativity, or you know uh, those kind of. But if I ask you, tell me some great discovery and it's a scientist who did it, like in last 5 years or last 10 years, you will not be able to tell me that,
Right. Yes.
because earlier we were making discoveries on the basis of individual wisdom, one single person doing something, finding a breakthrough. But now we have progressed so much. Now if you want to build something new, you have to build a team first. So I would say building a team is the main thing.
Okay, that's a really nice advice. Like, what students should actually keep in mind while taking their choosing their topics, because I came across few people who were confused between taking this topic or that. So, what should we like aim for, like in a topic, if we are going into that journey of our life? So,
I think the most important thing is to find gather as much knowledge as possible about that topic. So, for example,
okay,
you start with I'll give you an example. Suppose you are confused between psychology and mass media communication, right? These are the
right,
two courses, very different. You are like, okay, I like psychology as well, but I also like mass media. But I'm not able to decide, and I've got admission in both the colleges. So, which one to go for? um, I would say some people say that, okay, if you're getting in a better college, just go for that course. But I would
right,
not recommend that. I would say that, go open the prospectus, read what is actually going to be taught in that course, right? What you're going to be actually learning, because it's not about the title of the course. It's about the keywords in there and actually what you're going to learn. So when you start reading the prospectus, you figure out, oh, in psychology, I have to read like hundreds of books, and I'm not
right,
really an avid reader. I don't like to read, and I have to read a lot, write a lot, so this doesn't match with my personality that much. Whereas in mass media communication, okay, I have to probably talk a lot, and I like to talk. So then that's basically what you need to do is you need to make a list of your strengths and weaknesses and
right.
your targets, what you want to achieve, and then take that course and see that whether the course is going to help you achieve your goals.
Okay,
That you should think about that, if you are taking a course, that doing the same thing for next 10 more years, and thinking, will you be still excited about it? This is something you would like to do in the future. if
right.
not if not, probably you need to think more about what you do. And sometimes it takes time to figure out what you want to do. There is no problem in that. If you just But you should keep exploring things, and you should keep trying to figure out what you like to do.
Okay. So I want. Can you just recognize and tell who these people are in this picture?
I know these people very well. This is Mr. Chandar Malik, uh, you know, and I am really, really inspired by all his initiatives, whether it's programming club or laptop drive. He's a huge motivation for me. Uh, Apart, you were talking about role models, I would say, if I don't if we don't I'm not thinking about my career, but I'm thinking about what I want to do in general in life. And so a lot of kind of activities he has started, those are the kind of things I would like to do and learn from him. And the other person is my wife, Dr. Shweta Karambedkar, my partner. So yeah, I recognize both these people very well.
Yeah, Chandraji always motivates us anyway. Um, so I've like heard in one of our Steam Vision Prangan sessions that you love viruses. So how true is that? I mean, what makes you love them?
Oh, they are amazing. So what are so when you said that you love something, you basically you like to be with them, right? And
Right.
you are intrigued by them, you are attracted by them, and that and you learn from them. So viruses are amazing molecular machines. Okay, they are so small, so tiny. For example, HIV virus has like 10 genes, and we have like
Okay.
20,000 genes. And
Right.
it comes in, infects us, hijacks our body, and then stays there forever, never leaves, basically. So, and these viruses, so when they're coming into our body, they're hijacking things. What we can do is we can learn how to hijack from them, right? We can learn hijacking from them. So because we humans are smart, see, the cows are not giving milk for us, but we drink cow milk, right? So
Right.
because we learned how to make use of that for us. Similarly for viruses also, what we have learned is, so I was telling you that we can cut genes
Right.
wherever we
Yes.
want,
Yes.
and we can. So how did we learn that? We learned that from viruses, because viruses come into our body, they cut our genes and get and enter inside our body, and do things, hijack. So we are learning to hijack things from viruses. There is a acute lymphoblastic leukemia, is a cancer of children usually below
Yeah.
5 years of
Right.
age. And previously, a lot of people, a lot of kids on whom chemical drugs used to not work, they used to all die.
Right.
But now what we have learned is, using viruses, what we can do is we can actually take cells out of from those children's body, cancer patients body, and then we can design those cells with the help of viruses, so that when you put those cells back, they go and fight with cancer. So
Oh, okay.
so these are like viruses are like small tiny machines, and if you learn how to hijack those machines, you can get so much done with from them. And then they are also very interesting. They are like they do so many things which you can't even imagine. They are everywhere. They are in your like sea water, in sewage water, in your glass of water. They're everywhere. And so how they are so successful, we can learn from them.
Right. So did you ever get chance to work like in field of cancer or something like that? Did
Yeah.
you did you work like in here or back in India?
So when I was at IISc, uh,
Right.
I did an integrated PhD degree. So I did my MS first and then my PhD. So during my MS, we were working in different laboratories to figure out in which lab we want to finally do our PhD in. So because I told you that I was interested in cancer and AIDS, so I actually did a rotation, like 2 months rotation in 3 cancer labs, and I actually
Okay.
worked on blood cancer, and my current lab also works on cancer. I am the only one who works with viruses in this lab, but other people use this same gene editing, gene cutting, gene engineering to study cancer or to treat cancer.
Okay, okay. That's right. So as we are moving towards the end of the session, I would say how different we covered that point, but how different it is staying here and India. If you were to compare, what things do you miss, or maybe like you want, yeah, like I want this thing to be here, or maybe there are different cultures. Basically, it's Western and then it's Indian culture. So
Yeah.
how different it is for you?
You are asking in terms of science research
No,
or
no, in your no, like
personal
in
life?
like daily when you maybe go out, like we have stores on our doorstep. So how is it to manage things there in US?
Okay, so yeah, so in general life management, yeah, it's I would say it's more difficult to manage life in some aspects here and easier in some other aspects. For example, food. When I was in India, when I was at IISc, there was a great mess, and you pay like 1,400, 1,500 rupees every month, and you can have 4 meals with unlimited food, very nice food. You get nice dosa in the breakfast, and then 4, 5 items in lunch, evening snacks. Here, you have to cook if you want to eat, and sometimes you are working so much that you don't then get time to cook.
Right.
And so managing, so this is an additional responsibility. So I've learned to cook pretty well actually after coming to US. And like at least I find it eatable, edible, and so that's one thing. The other thing is that in here in US you have to do a lot of your things yourself.
Right.
In India you can get help easily from other people, and because the labor is cheap. But here, even if you have, like, for example, an electrical connection, so if it's a small thing, you might want to do it yourself because you have to call someone and they'll take time to come. And so that's one difference. There are a lot of positive things also. For example, you see a difference in so we know the situation of pollution in Delhi, right?
Right.
So the air which you breathe, so you see the difference. So when you look here, the air quality is absolutely clean, the water is clean, and so you feel that difference. The traffic is more disciplined. People don't honk that much, they drive a little better. But then one major difference which I feel is that I feel that social connections in India are really good for your mental health. In India, the
Okay.
social structure is really strong. You have family, which comes at a cost again, but like the family, you might not realize it when you are in India, but the family, friends, and that extended social structure, that really
Mhm.
helps you stay sane. Whereas the life is more individualistic and more lonely in United States, I would say that. at
Right.
least at least it feels like that to an immigrant who is not part of the system. Other people who were brought up here might feel it differently, but that's how I feel.
Right. So was there some instance in US when you were adapting to the system and you did something and you were like, oh, okay, this should not have been done. So was there some instance, something, maybe anything in your daily life? I
Yeah, a lot of times what happens is because accent, right? So what you say, the other person is not able to understand, and what they are saying, you are not able to understand, right? So that sometimes create problem, because if you are on a phone call with someone and you repeated yourself 4 times and they're still not able to understand you, or you are not able to understand. But then, that's why text messaging is for. And
Right. Yeah, saving from the chaos. That's right. Um, my last question to you is like, what is your message for a person who is in 10th grade and to a person who is completing his undergrad like me? What would you say to them, especially in this Corona period?
yeah, I would say the whole world is out there. And whether you are sure what you want to do or whether you are not sure what you want to do, there are good ways to move forward from both those options. So if you know what you want to do, it's great. You can keep on exploring that thing more. Develop the skills which you need to get to that goal. But even if you don't know what you want to do, you can always make a few priorities, and you start with your top priority and try figure out whether you there's no rush. So it's like sometimes people think that, oh, I'm 23 years old or 22 years old now, I should be settled by then.
Right.
But I don't believe in that. What I believe in is that if you feel that what you are doing, you are not happy with it, it's probably time to try new things. So just be fearless, and keep trying things. Make a good network of people who can support you and whom you support,
Right.
and the life will be good.
Okay, so how would you suggest, like, if someone wants to, like, after graduation, maybe, or in after their 12th, they're not able to figure out what they want to do. So if they want to go for a gap year, to figure out things, what is your input on that?
Yeah, so gap year is perfectly fine. A lot of in a lot of countries people do that. The only thing is that gap year should not, your mind should not be completely empty during the gap year, right?
Right.
uh, if you are taking, so there can be multiple reasons why you want to take the gap year. You might be taking a gap year to just relax, then it's fine, but you should know that's the goal of it, that I'm not going to think about anything in this gap year. But if the reason for you to take a gap year is to figure out your future career
Right.
options,
Yes. Hmm.
then you should have a plan for that gap year as well. And actually that gap year can be very, very productive if you have a plan. You, for example, you go to a career counselor, you start from there, that I'm taking a gap year. This one year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so for example, I'm not sure if I want to work in healthcare or infrastructure, or or I want to go into law. So but then
Right.
you say that, okay, these are 3 4 things I'm confused about. Let me just try to find out, can I intern at a lawyer's place? I'm just like, I just finished my grade 12th, so no one is going to probably take me, but I'm going to
Right.
write to many many people, find out my contact, someone knows someone's relative is a lawyer, and I'm going to just sit there in their cabin for 1 month, see how they do things, how things happen. Because sometimes you are not able to figure out what you want to do because you're outside the system.
Right. Yes.
But once you get inside the system, for example, you want to do movie making, right, or something like that, you start with YouTubers, right? You contact them, I just want to come and spend 1 month with you there and see how you make your YouTube videos, what you do. So you can try 12 different professions in a year, and in that gap year, and you will be wiser and more experienced to take a call after that year. So I would say
Right.
plan for your gap year as well, and plan for your career if you
Okay.
directly go into college.
Right. So, thank you so much for such amazing answers and
Thanks for
sharing
having
your
me,
life
Akshita.
with us. This journey has been really wonderful, and we thank you so much for your valuable time. And personally, there were a lot of takeaways for me, and I really enjoyed interacting with you.
I
And
enjoyed it too.
we all at Steam Vision wish you all the success in your future endeavors. And thank you once again for being with us, and hope you have great days ahead. So
Thank you
that's
very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all these nice questions, and for making me think about my journey and making me nostalgic.
I hope
Thanks.
you enjoyed it too. Like I
I
enjoyed
enjoyed
it.
it a lot.
I enjoyed it being a part of this. So really, thank you so much. And I would like to sign off by giving this gratitude to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.